Every detail matters in the courtroom. Every perspective demands fairness. Know your legal protections and pursue genuine justice.
Hey, back away from the front of that car, you hear me? You don't belong in something like this. Whose Escalade is it really?
It's mine, officer.
Yeah, right. Lady like you in a white uniform, what you do, clean houses? You steal a badge too?
I'm a registered nurse. I'm on my
Stop resisting and get on the ground, now!
I'm not resisting.
On the ground!
I'm just standing here.
Get down! Move! Up against the car, I said up!
Ow, hey!
Stop fighting me, hands behind your
I'm
back.
not fighting you, I'm just
Quit talking, give me your other arm, now!
I'm a nurse, officer, I'm innocent.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting, I'm just
You hear me? You move again and you're going down harder.
Please, I'm on my
Let me
way
go
to
to
the
work.
hospital. Let me
You
go
should
to
have thought
work.
about that before stealing it.
At 6:42 a.m., the Escalade was parked legally, the Walmart doors were still locked, and the parking lot cameras were already recording. Multiple witnesses would later agree on one thing. The woman never raised her voice, never stepped away from the front of her vehicle, and never gave the officer a reason. Yet the man walking toward her that morning didn't see a commuter preparing for work. He saw a mistake he was about to make, one that would cost him his badge and 8 years of his life. Officer Daniel Krell had been on the force just long enough to feel untouchable. 34 years old, 5 years into patrol duty, he wore confidence like a second uniform. Fellow officers described him as aggressive but proactive, the kind of cop who liked to take control early and ask questions later. That morning, he was supposed to be running a routine patrol loop around the commercial district. Nothing more than checking doors, watching for overnight theft, killing time until the city woke up. Then he saw the black Escalade. It sat alone near the far edge of the Walmart lot, engine off, hazard lights blinking softly in the grey morning light. Krell slowed his cruiser, eyes lingering longer than necessary. He would later tell supervisors the vehicle looked out of place. What he didn't say out loud, what body camera footage would eventually suggest, was that the woman standing in front of it didn't match the story he had already written in his head. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. Krell pulled in behind the Escalade without activating his lights. The crunch of gravel under his tires carried farther than he realized. The woman turned slightly, not startled, just aware. Her name was Alana Brooks, 39 years old, a respiratory therapist at a regional medical center across town. 12-hour shifts, critical care unit, the kind of job where being late meant someone else stayed longer. Her hospital ID badge rested against her jacket, visible, swinging lightly as she checked her phone for the time. She had parked there because her car had briefly stalled on the way to work. Modern vehicle, temporary glitch, nothing dramatic. She'd pulled over, restarted the system, and stepped out to make sure everything sounded right. She was standing directly in front of her own vehicle when Krell opened his door. "Ma'am," he said, voice already sharp. "What are you doing here?" Alana answered without attitude. "On my way to work, my car hesitated, so I stopped to check it." Krell glanced past her, scanning the empty lot as if expecting backup to appear. His hand hovered near his belt. "This area's had theft issues. You can't just loiter here." "I'm not loitering," she said calmly, gesturing to the Escalade. "That's my car." Krell's eyes dropped to the vehicle, then back to her face. The badge, the work clothes, the calm tone, none of it slowed him down. "ID," he said. Alana hesitated, not out of defiance, but confusion. "Am I being detained?" That question changed the air. Krell's posture stiffened. He stepped closer, closing the space between them. "I asked for ID." Around them, the parking lot began to wake. A delivery truck rolled in near the loading bay. 2 Walmart employees sat in a car near the entrance, watching. One of them would later say the tension felt immediate, like a switch had been flipped. Alana kept her hands visible. "I can show you my work badge," she said. "I don't understand why—" Krell cut her off. "Step away from the vehicle." "I'm standing in front of it," she replied, still measured. "Where would you like me to go?" That was when Krell's voice rose. Not a shout, but louder, edged with impatience. The body cam would later capture the exact moment his tone shifted from inquiry to command. It would also capture Alana's face. Controlled, professional, the expression of someone used to pressure, but not this kind. She explained again. Her job. Her schedule, her reason for stopping, each sentence seemed to irritate him more. What Krell didn't know was that Walmart's cameras had a clean angle. He didn't know that one of the employees in the parked car had already started recording on their phone. And he didn't know that Alana, trained to stay calm in medical emergencies, was about to become the most composed person in a situation spiraling out of control. As he reached for his radio, calling in a suspicious person check, the imbalance of power was already obvious to anyone watching. A woman on her way to save lives, an officer convinced she didn't belong where she stood. And this was only the beginning. If you believe that ordinary moments can expose extraordinary injustice, share this story and let others know the truth still matters. Officer Krell's radio crackled softly against his shoulder as he angled his body to block Alana's view of the parking lot exit. The movement was subtle but deliberate. He positioned himself the way officers are trained to do when they want control. Feet wide, chest forward, voice clipped. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he said. "They've been visible this whole time," Alana replied, palms open at her sides. Her voice didn't shake, but her breathing had slowed the way it does when someone is forcing themselves to stay calm. Krell ignored that. He circled slightly, eyes flicking to the Escalade, then back to her. "You match the description of someone we're looking for." That line landed differently. One of the Walmart employees sitting near the entrance leaned forward in their seat. "Description of who?" they muttered, already lifting their phone higher. Alana frowned. "What description?" Krell didn't answer. He stepped closer instead, close enough that Alana could smell the coffee on his breath. "Turn around," he said. "Face the vehicle." "Am I under arrest?" she asked. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." That was the moment witnesses later pointed to, the pivot point. Up until then, it was an uncomfortable stop. After that, it became something else. Alana shook her head once, slow and controlled. "I haven't done anything wrong. I'm standing in front of my car. I told you why I stopped." Krell's jaw tightened. His body camera, now unobstructed, captured his next words clearly. People who haven't done anything wrong don't argue. From the corner of the lot, a delivery driver cut his engine and watched. The Walmart employees stepped out of their car. One called out, "She ain't doing nothing!" Krell snapped his head toward them. "Stay back!" Alana didn't move. "Officer, I need to get to work," she said. "I work at the hospital. I can't be late." That seemed to irritate him more. "Funny how everyone suddenly works somewhere important," he replied. She flinched, not physically, but in her eyes. It was quick, almost imperceptible, but the camera caught it. The shift from confusion to realization. She understood now that this wasn't about a car or a parking lot. Krell reached for her wrist. "Don't touch me," she said instinctively, stepping back half a pace but keeping her hands up. That was all he needed. "Resisting," he announced loudly, as if narrating for an audience. He grabbed her arm, twisting it behind her back with unnecessary force. Alana gasped, not in pain, but shock. "I'm not resisting," she said, voice strained. "Please!" The words barely left her mouth before Krell shoved her forward, pinning her against the hood of the Escalade. The thud echoed in the open lot. A phone camera zoomed in. Someone shouted, "Yo, chill!" Krell fumbled for his cuffs, movements sharp, irritated. "Stop moving!" "I'm not moving," Alana cried, cheek pressed against the cold metal of her own car. Her badge scraped against the hood, the hospital logo fully visible. The radio crackled again. "Unit 12, back up en route." That announcement changed the rhythm of the scene. Krell slowed, aware now of eyes, of cameras, of witnesses he hadn't accounted for. He tightened the cuffs anyway, snapping them closed harder than necessary. When the second patrol car arrived, Officer Maria Henson stepped out. She took in the scene in seconds. The woman cuffed against her own vehicle, the gathering crowd, the phones raised like mirrors. What's going on?" Henson asked. Krell spoke quickly. "Suspicious person, non-compliant, refused to provide ID." Henson looked at Alana. "Is that true?" Alana swallowed. "I asked why I was being detained," she said. "I never refused. I just wanted to know why." Henson glanced at the Escalade, then at the badge, then at Krell. Something tightened in her expression. "Daniel," she said quietly, "what's the charge?" Krell hesitated, just a beat too long. Before he could answer, one of the Walmart employees spoke up. "We got the whole thing on video," they said. "She didn't do nothing." Silence stretched, the cameras kept rolling. Krell finally said, interfering with an investigation. Henson didn't argue on scene. She rarely did, but her body camera captured the look she gave him, a look that suggested this wasn't over. As Alana was guided towards the cruiser, still stunned, still trying to understand how a routine stop had turned into handcuffs, the parking lot buzzed with quiet disbelief. This wasn't chaos. It was worse. It was controlled, procedural, and wrong. And every second of it was recorded. If you believe that the truth has a way of surfacing when people choose to watch closely, share this story and let others know accountability begins with evidence. By the time Alana Brooks was released from the holding room, the sun was already high enough to burn through the morning haze. She hadn't been booked, no fingerprints, no mugshot. Just a short, awkward silence at the front desk and a quiet, almost embarrassed, "You're free to go." No apology. She walked out of the station with her jacket folded over her arm, cuffs still faintly marked on her wrists. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Missed calls from her charge nurse, messages from co-workers asking if she was okay. She didn't answer any of them yet. She sat in her Escalade for nearly 10 minutes before starting the engine, hands resting on the wheel, replaying every word, every look, every second where she'd wondered if things might suddenly get worse. Across town, Officer Daniel Krell was being told to write his report. He sat at a metal desk, typing faster than usual, the way people do when they want to outrun a memory. His version of events sounded clean on paper, vague, professional. A suspicious vehicle, a subject who became argumentative. Officer safety concerns, standard language used thousands of times before. What he didn't know, what no one had told him yet, was that his report had already been contradicted. The first video surfaced less than an hour later. A 37-second clip posted by a Walmart employee, shaky but clear enough. Alana standing in front of her Escalade, calm, still, Krell's voice rising, the shove, the cuffs. By noon, it was everywhere. Local blogs picked it up first, then regional pages. By evening, national outlets were emailing the department's public information officer with one question repeated in different ways. Why was she detained? Internal Affairs opened a preliminary review before the end of the day. Officer Maria Henson was interviewed the next morning. She sat across from two supervisors and a civilian oversight investigator, hands folded, tone careful. She didn't exaggerate. She didn't editorialize. She just described what she saw and what she didn't. No clear threat, she said. No clear crime. They asked her about Krell, his reputation, his past stops. She paused before answering, just long enough to be honest without being reckless. He's had complaints, she said, mostly about tone, escalation. That word, escalation, began appearing everywhere. The department pulled Krell's history. Excessive force flags that hadn't gone anywhere, stops that ended in warnings but still generated civilian complaints, patterns that didn't look dramatic individually, but looked troubling when stacked together. Then the body cam footage was reviewed in full. Frame by frame, audio isolated, commands analysed. Investigators noted how early the interaction turned confrontational, how Alana's questions were met with dominance instead of explanation, how the justification for detention never quite solidified into anything concrete. Krell was placed on administrative leave 3 days later. He told colleagues he was being thrown under the bus. Told friends the public didn't understand police work. At home, he avoided watching the footage, convinced context would eventually save him. It didn't. Alana, meanwhile, returned to work. She requested lighter duties for a few days, not because she was injured, but because she couldn't trust her hands not to shake when alarms went off. Her supervisors supported her quietly. They didn't push interviews. They didn't ask her to be a symbol. The city asked anyway. Her attorney held the first press conference outside the courthouse, not the police station. Alana stood behind him, silent, hospital badge clipped neatly to her jacket. She didn't cry. She didn't raise her voice. When she finally spoke, it was measured. "I did everything I was supposed to do," she said, "and it still wasn't enough." The district attorney announced criminal charges 2 weeks later. Unlawful detention, assault under colour of law, falsifying a police report. That announcement hit Krell harder than the suspension. Criminal charges meant this wasn't just a departmental issue. It meant prosecutors believed a jury would see what the cameras saw. At trial, the videos played on a loop. The defense tried to frame uncertainty, threat perception, split-second decisions, but the prosecution slowed everything down. Paused frames highlighted Alana's stillness, her hands, her words. They asked one question repeatedly in different forms. What was the crime? No one could answer it. The verdict came back faster than expected. Guilty on all major counts. When the judge read the sentence, 8 years, the room went quiet. Krell didn't look at Alana. He stared straight ahead, jaw locked, as if refusing to process the weight of time suddenly attached to his name. Alana closed her eyes briefly, not in celebration, in release. Outside the courthouse, someone asked her if she felt justice had been served. She thought for a moment before answering. "I feel believed," she said, "and that matters." If you believe that accountability isn't about revenge but about truth finally being acknowledged, share this story and remind others that silence only protects the wrong side. The day Officer Daniel Krell was officially fired, there were no cameras waiting outside the precinct. No crowd, no statement allowed. His name was removed from the duty roster with a quiet finality that felt almost deliberate, as if the department wanted the chapter closed without ceremony. His badge was logged. His weapon surrendered. The uniform he once wore with confidence became just another item on an inventory sheet. The sentencing came weeks later. In the courtroom, the air felt heavier than it had during the trial. This wasn't about proving anything anymore. That had already been done. This was about consequence. Krell sat at the defense table in a plain suit that didn't quite fit the way his uniform once had. Gone was the posture, the command presence. He looked smaller now, shoulders rounded, hands clasped too tightly. When the judge asked if he had anything to say before sentencing, Krell stood slowly. He spoke about stress, about split-second decisions, about how policing wasn't fair. He never said Alana's name. When the judge responded, the tone was calm but unyielding. She spoke about authority and trust, about how a badge was not a license to humiliate or harm, about how the footage showed not fear but control, and how that control had been abused. 8 years, she said, to be served in state custody. Krell closed his eyes, just briefly, then it was over. Alana was seated behind the prosecution, hands folded in her lap. She didn't react when the sentence was read. No smile, no tears, just a slow breath out like someone finally setting something heavy down. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered again, but Alana didn't stay long. She answered one question and then stepped away. "I didn't want this to define me," she said, "but I also wasn't going to let it disappear." The civil case followed quietly. No dramatic trial this time. The city settled, acknowledging failure without ever using the word fault. Policy changes were announced: mandatory de-escalation retraining, expanded body camera audits, early warning systems for repeat complaints. On paper, it looked like progress. What mattered more to Alana were the smaller things. She returned to that Walmart months later, not for closure, she said, but because life doesn't always give you neat endings. She stood in the same parking lot, near the same spot, this time with groceries in her trunk instead of questions in her chest. No patrol car rolled in. No one challenged her presence. That was the point. Krell's appeals were denied within the year. His name, once protected by procedure and silence, became a case study in training manuals and oversight meetings. Recruits watched the footage now, instructors pausing it at key moments. "This is where it went wrong," they'd say. And it wasn't the shove or the cuffs. It was the assumption. Alana kept working at the hospital. She picked up extra shifts, trained new hires. Patients never knew her story unless they asked. To them, she was steady hands and a calm voice in rooms filled with fear. Sometimes co-workers asked how she stayed composed through it all. She usually answered the same way: "I didn't have a choice." Years later, when a young nurse recognized her from an article and asked if she regretted stopping that morning, Alana shook her head. "No," she said. "I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret standing where I stood." Because the truth was simple and uncomfortable. Nothing about that morning was extraordinary. A woman going to work. A car parked legally. A question asked calmly. What followed only felt inevitable because too many people had been taught to look away. This time no one did. If you believe that accountability should reach everyone, especially those entrusted with power, share this story and remind others that justice only works when we refuse to ignore the truth.
Accountability is a shared responsibility, and facts are your ultimate protection. We appreciate your time and commitment to verifiable truth.